Hey guys, just a friendly reminder to make sure you go subscribe to Rojas Media Podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast for sports takes, opinions, interviews, and more. That's Rojas Media Podcast, streaming wherever you get your podcast fix. So I want to talk about one of not only my favorite power hitters growing up, but, one of my favorite players in general. I'm a big Phillies fan. I grew up when, the last few years of the vet, the bank was just opening. And, what one name you heard about definitely was Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard was, I used to go to a few Reading Phillies games back in the day. I remember hearing about, Ryan Howard being like one of the best players in Reading Phillies history. And you're waiting for him to come up with the Phillies, and then when he does come up, he starts hitting some moonshots and some bombs, and, the Phillies were in some pennant races, trying to win the NL East, but it was always the Atlanta Braves. It was always the Atlanta Braves winning the division. They had that run where it was, 95 to 05, I think, and then the Mets might have won in 06, and then the Phils won in 07. I can't remember. It might have been the Mets that won the wild card in 06. Braves still won in 06. It doesn't even matter. Ryan Howard hit 58 home runs in his first full year in the majors in 2006. This is just, the steroid era. The Mitchell report came out in, sometime in the early to mid 2000s. I think it was more the mid 2000s. And, everything's coming out about, McGuire, Sosa, you name it, Palmeiro, a whole bunch of people, anybody you can name, even guys that weren't hitting bombs. Give me a Chuck Knobloch in there. He was on the Mitchell report, I believe. So that comes out, and, there were whispers in the late 90s and early 2000s about steroids. There were whispers there, there were talks of it, but I don't think people really took it seriously, and people didn't really want to believe it. But regardless, it happened. And Ryan Howard's 2006 season, he hit 58 home runs. Right after this, all the steroids are, the steroid talk happens right after that. And I want to talk about Howard's year kind of being, I don't want to say it doesn't get appreciation. Definitely people in Philadelphia, obviously, people give it appreciation. But I think even with Philadelphia fans, actually, I think it gets kind of, not even swept under the rug, but, it kind of gets a little bit overlooked because of the playoff years, and he had big years in their playoff runs, and, he was a big playoff performer, and he was a clutch performer and all that. But, I think Howard's 06 season really gets overlooked a little bit, because you hit 58 home runs. That's a lot. That is a lot of home runs. Okay, before even Griffey and McGuire, like, you can throw Griffey's name in there. Griffey didn't use steroids, or so we don't think, right? You never really know. You never know with any of the guys, honestly. Even Luis Gonzalez didn't even look huge, but apparently he used steroids. So you never know. All I'm saying is you never know with any of the guys. But McGuire comes in and hits 57, 58. And people start talking about, can he do it? Can he break the record? And all of a sudden, in 98, him and Sosa have the home run chase. And all of a sudden, everybody's hitting home runs. Everybody. And it comes out about the steroids. And, now people don't want to talk about home runs anymore because everything's tainted. But Ryan Howard never was on any of those lists. Ryan Howard's name, I think, came up in like one or two rumors, but they weren't very good sources, and it immediately was like, okay, Howard, he's fine. And he's a big guy. He was a big guy, so obviously those questions are gonna come, like, oh, maybe is Howard using? He's sitting there, it's 58, then he hits 47 the next year, then he's hitting 40 plus for a couple years, and of course, right after that, where all these guys are taking steroids, of course you're going to think, it's natural to think, oh, maybe is he using them? Not to say he is using them, but it's like, maybe is he using them? I think the same thing with Prince Fielder in 07 when he hit 50. Oh, is Prince Fielder using? You know? So it was only natural at that time. But Howard's 58 does not get enough credit. It just doesn't. And I understand it's all a retrospect thing, but people tend to talk more about, you know, the guys taking steroids, and they like to complain more about all those home runs and how they were taking steroids. And why don't we look at a guy that didn't use steroids and hit a lot of home runs? You know, I mean, so Howard technically is what, 10th or 11th all time on the home run single season home run list. But if you take away all the guys that were linked to PEDs and steroids, Howard's 4th. Now we sit here and we talk about the steroids and we complain, blah blah blah. Why don't we look at the positives? A guy that didn't use steroids, and he was 4th all time. You know, he was 4th. You know, if you take away those guys, it's 4th all time. 4th. So, you know, I just feel like Ryan Howard's 06 season really, you know, I at least want to start a conversation, and I know people have talked about it in the past as well, but I just kind of want to contribute to this conversation that we need to have, that Ryan Howard's 06 season, where he hit 58 home runs and won MVP that year, it needs to get more love. It needs to, we at least need to appreciate it. We need to appreciate the 58 home runs in a way that where we negatively look at Bonds and McGuire and Sosa. All that energy that we give them, can we give the same, not the same type of energy, but like the same amount of energy in a positive way to Ryan Howard? No, he didn't break any records, but he's top 5, you know, 4th all time. 4th all time. Tied with, I think, Greenberg and Jimmy Fox. So, Ryan Howard needs some love. That's all I'm saying. Ryan Howard, just give him some, you know, let's talk about it. Just give him some love. That's all I'm saying. Just how we're giving Clayton Kershaw some love. Now, give him the roses while he can smell it. I think that's a saying. I got it right for this second half of the podcast. I'm pretty sure that's a saying. Same thing with Ryan Howard. Give that 58 home runs the love that it deserves. That's all I'm saying.